She's a single-hag mother who enjoys cauldron cooking. He is a wizard from the Empire whose face was turned into solid gold in a magical mishap. Can they find love? Today on Too Hot to Handle the Old World. Yeah, just kidding. Anyway, happy Valentine's Day to you all. Hopefully, whether or not you have someone to spend it with, hopefully you have a good time today. And we'll be bringing you some wonderful Kislev versus Empire action to help yeah, kind of raise the festivities, if you will. Mother Ostankia leading the way for Rider Rohan's Kislev. He's got a massive line of Kossars, mix of spears and axes here. Kislevite warriors in the back, and some Griffin Legion, along with the Frostworm. Mother Ostankia rocking the Curse of the Ancient Witch, and the Goliath Bear's Heal bound ability, of course. Yeah, so, as for the Empire, Balthazar Gelt leading the way. He's going to have probably Searing Doom, Final Transmutation, yep. There's a couple of Hawkland Long Rifles, a couple of Great Cannons, some Empire Knights with a single Reichsguard over on the far right, and Swordsman as a front line. Let's get things rolling. Oh yes, the land ship, of course, in the center. Beautiful land ship was recently technically nerfed. Supposedly it has an easier time getting hit by infantry models, but on the approach, Kislev infantry models are going to get absolutely exploded by the Hawkland Long Rifles and the land ship. Shooting attacks here, granted. There's a lot of long-range light armor for the Empire. You can see the Hawkland Long Rifles immediately getting out of range of the bows. They at least have the mobility to do so, relatively speaking. The cannon crews, on the other hand, will not be able to really effectively reposition. They'd probably have to drop their cannons and run. Basically neutralize them anyway, so yeah, land ship charges forward along with the swordsman to try and get Kislev forces away. Nice contact here. A little final transmutation out there on Mother Ostankia. Hits some Griffin Legion as well. Griffin Legion clashing with the Empire Knights and Reichsguard. Frostworm tangled up in that side engagement, but here in the front line, land ship doing what it can to break up the assault. Unfortunately, it was not enough. Both great cannon crews are down already. The bows of Kislev. But the Empire Knights charge in. Gonna get a decent charge on these Spear Kossars. With the Empire State Troops and the land ship in the vicinity, Empire should be able to win out on this flank. On the opposite flank, though, it is quite an opposite situation, as Ostankia and the Kislev Cavalry, along with the Frostworm, are able to clean up pretty decisively. The Empire Cavalry, that's going to lead to immediate problems for these long rifles. Going to get absolutely hammered on the charge here. Griffin Legion, absolutely beautiful in the setting sun. Gonna hammer in and just flatten that unit of Hawkland Long Rifles. While Balthazar and the land ship continue to try and break up this big bow formation here. The land ship is quite a big target and has a decent amount of armor and HP. Obviously unbreakable as well, but is going to be taking quite a bit of damage from these bows in this situation, so a little bit tricky for the Empire. Ash here, the Empire player, doesn't have great tools for dealing with these single entities outside of that final transmutation, but at the same time, feeling the need to toss out some Searing Dooms here to take out these Kossars, help protect the land ship. It's a tricky situation to find yourself in, for sure. At least he's got these Empire Knights kind of near and try and reconsolidate this position as Kislev is absolutely sweeping through this backline here. Both long rifles been routed. Empire Knights also routed. These spears getting hammered. Stankia cooking up some nasty debuffs in her Cauldron. Getting some decent range attacks as well. Let's check in on her value. Not absolutely insane yet, but presence of her and her spells will definitely make a difference. Balance power slightly in Kislev's favor. I say slightly, pretty heavily in Kislev's favor, but Empire definitely not out of this yet, as long as the land ship is alive. And a lot of the bows have pretty much been dealt with. But let's see, as the land ship charges through, if these Kislev warriors get an attack order on it, maybe they're able to get more effective animations. Yeah, I do see him taking some swings there. I didn't necessarily test this big time before the patch came out, but yeah, it seems like they're doing some damage. Hard to really say, but yeah, the Empire Knights now helping to kind of clean things up. By our blood, helping the Kislev warriors stay in a little bit, get some extra hits in, but they are definitely going to get routed, so Griffin Legion come close as well, going to get hit by the side. The riflemen here with their repeater carbines. Pushing the Griffin Legion away, picking off a few unit models there, trying to stabilize, but the Frostworm and Ostankia are rapidly closing in. Maybe there's, what, one more final transmutation here, just based on the Winds of Magic that have been spent already. Hard to say. We really wish I could see each player's power reserve, but anyway. Frostworm has quite a bit of HP left. Yeah, over 6,000 HP still remaining. So the landship going to full power accelerate in the opposite direction, try and get some space here. Just due to the exhaustion, it's probably going to be like base infantry speed once this speed wears off from the full power. Yeah, base value 50 with wounds and exhaustion minus 15. Not looking great. But let's see. Helps finish off some more Kislev units in the near vicinity. Swordsmen are here. Rider Rohan sweeping up and around with the Griffin Legion. Or holding with By Our Blood manages to keep them from actually routing. And their leadership stabilizes, supporting the Frostworm. Balthazar flying on over. Sees Ostankia in the distance there. Griffin Legion as well, supporting her. But I don't know, does the landship have any main cannon ammunition? Maybe it might be worth turning and taking some shots at the Frostworm. Instead, does not support this Empire Knight that remains. It gets absolutely smashed on this engagement. The landship's going to go over and charge at these bows, which, yeah, I think the bows probably have enough ammunition to just kill the landship at this point, given how slow it's actually approaching. Saw that final transmutation there on Ostankia. Did some damage to her, but ultimately Empire just doesn't have enough resources to overcome here. And with the landship going down, that's going to be game. Looks like the rose was rejected for Balthazar, unfortunately. But a good game, well played to both these players. Honestly, kind of surprised that the Frostworm didn't get more value. I guess it was more in like a cavalry support role, and was threatening enough to the landship that it kind of dictated that late game engagement. So tactically, the presence is quite nice to have, but nonetheless, a lot of the value came from the Griffin Legion as they were able to get in and flatten some of these high value units with the support of the Frostworm, of course, as well, trading super efficiently into the Empire cavalry. Only one Empire Knight pays for themselves, and that's the one that was on the opposite flank, kind of running through these Kislev infantry, which some of the Kossars get some really nice value. Very cost-effective, 800 value on some low-tier infantry is fantastic. So, pretty good across the board there as they rain some arrows down on the landship. For Ash here, yeah, I mean, the very squishy long-range shooting units, it's definitely pretty rough. And, the war wagons, like I get not wanting to necessarily tech too heavily into them, especially against the faction that can potentially win on a mobility engagement and has tools to, like, slow war wagons down a little bit here, but I don't know, just the bows as well. I mean, hindsight 2020, but the amount of bows that Rohan had here was going to be very threatening to these lighter units that really rely on their long-range shooting. So it's one reason why you might want to option war wagons in instead. Take like a couple of the gun wagons, and honestly, in this matchup, I mean, the mortar wagons sometimes don't have the best targets to shoot at, but even armored Kossars are decent targets given they're relatively tightly packed and their armor's not insane. They do have quite a bit of HP per model, but the mortar wagon's benefit, of course, is that the crewmen are all in the wagon, counting as a unit model, right? So they're not going to lose crewmen to basic shooting, because of the armor and mobility. You can kind of avoid that, and the hits that land aren't going to be killing crewmen outright. So just a little bit safer. Granted, with that, the war wagons, the gun wagons, if you had... Are you allowed to take up to 4 war wagons? I forget in a matchup if they're mix of artillery and the gun wagons. Anyway, really have to be wise about using that shooting on cavalry and single entities, be a little bit lacking in anti-large in that way. But with the landship in support, kind of keep your wagons and landship somewhat together and kind of work the knights in more in a supporting role rather than having to use them in a defensive role, trying to keep enemies away from these lighter units. So, I don't know, just some food for thought. Ash is definitely a great player, and played it as well as he could. It's fun to see some landship in action. Doesn't seem like, I don't know, it wasn't, at least in my experience in land battles the last patch, it wasn't insanely overpowered, so it was interesting to see that little nerf, but just more predictable interaction, I guess, with the infantry. And yeah, it doesn't seem like it's amazing to be using it like super aggressively. It depends on, obviously here it faced a lot of shooting, but I'll have to maybe check out some future replays and see. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.